Got it. It was hidden. All right. Well, good morning, everybody. What we're going to do today is we're going to start up the recap session actually with Document Store. And I'm not going to get too deep in the weeds on this because I know we just covered it a couple weeks ago. So what I just wanted to is provide just a little like the cliff notes from what happened a couple weeks ago, and then also go into some updates that have been done since then. Obviously, Document Store kicked off our 2026 releases back on February 20th. With that, we did provide a demo. Let me take you to where that's at. Underneath our training page, we have the recording listed under here, the February 20th. Just a heads up, that recording was about 2 hours long. Jody went in and talked more about just what document storage is and went through some of the technical related stuff, the errors that were encountered. And then she went in and showed how the migration works. And then what I did is I went in then after her and I discussed, demoed like after migration, what the new document storage menu option looks like. We discussed the migration of the information from file archive to document storage. So just to kind of go over that again, just like I said, the cliff notes, document storage is a centralized, separate centralized storage solution that is designed to securely store your stored documents, your report bundles, and other things that you had saved in file archive. So in the case of USAS and payroll, once Document Store is integrated and enabled, and that module is enabled, any newly generated report bundles will go straight to document storage. So that's where districts are going to see them. Now, the other part of this process is migration. So ITCs, you guys have been doing this already. We've been receiving tickets, and you guys have been going in and migrating the stored documents in file archive over to document storage as well. So that's kind of like the whole process. So if you've already enabled it for your districts, but you haven't done the migration, that's fine. Like I said, any new report bundles that they generate, any scheduled report bundles will go to document storage. And then when you have that planned date of when you need to migrate their file archive data over there, you will be running those migrations. And we've recommended to do this off hours at, during the evening or on the weekends. And then eventually everything will be over and stored in document storage. Now, just to show you again where that's at. So under utilities, here's where the file archive is, and eventually that will be removed. We have no plans on removing file archive in any future release. We don't have anything scheduled, planned at all yet. But eventually, everything will be out of file archive, and we won't need that anymore. So we will be removing that at some point. But what you'll see is underneath here in document storage is where it looks just like file archive. So like I said, any newly generated report bundles, stuff will be in here. And then once you migrate the data over from file archive, those will be in here as well. So this is just an example of USAS. I know during our demo, we talked about the search. And one thing that we found out after the demo was that standard users didn't see the search button. That is a JIRA issue that I believe is going to be fixed on the next release. So that standard payroll and USAS users will have the search capability here and the Elasticsearch feature. So I'm not going to go into details on this today. That was all in the demo, but I just wanted to let you know that that is something that we're going to be updating. Ronnie has a question. Can we do migrations during the day? We really don't recommend doing them during the day because it does drain a lot of resources on the system, and and it could affect performance. So that's why we recommend that that they do them that you do them in the evening. But good question. You're welcome. So one thing I wanted to do before Andrew gets started in all the payroll updates is I wanted just to talk about where document storage currently is at right now. So the PDF of it, let me go back to the PDF that we attached under the document store row here is under materials. Now we did update that. So went in, added a few more FAQs, went in and made some corrections. So if you plan to review this, if you plan to do a demo for your districts and you want to review this, I would grab the most recent version of that PDF presentation. So that should be under materials. What else did I want to mention? The document store chapters are out there. So we created the chapters in USAS payroll and inventory. So has all the information in there. We haven't updated the file archive chapters yet to reference that, you know, things will be moving into document storage, but those will be updated soon. And the last thing in regards to that is migrations. You guys have been busy. We have seen a lot of tickets coming in regarding the migration, and that's awesome. I know that Robin and Jody and Chad have been really working on those and trying to get any issues that you guys have taken care of ASAP. So they've been on those and trying to get those out. So we appreciate your patience and understanding while we work out some of these details of these more technical related issues with the migrations. One thing I wanted to mention, when you do create tickets for like a document store migration problem in particular, one thing that would really be helpful on the tickets is to attach the migration log file. The developers like to see the log files before a support instance. And so it just takes a little longer if we create your support instance. And if you have the migration log file there, you know, with errors or maybe it's blank, but it's showing that things migrated, we would just like you to attach that migration log file to your tickets. For those that host with the Management Council, we can spin up the application logs. We will, you know, be looking at if you're having a problem with the USPS migration, we will download the USPS application log, maybe the database log file as well, and also the document store log file. So we just need to review those to see, okay, where's the error at? It usually shows that in the log file. If we need a support instance, then we'll create that as well. But we usually start with the log files first, migration log file and the application log files, and then go from there. So that's kind of how we're handling the tickets as they come in. So any questions regarding document store or anything regarding, you know, the PowerPoint or the recorder or anything like that? Okay. Well, outside of document store, I'm going to flip back to the releases. Outside of document store integrations, there were no additional updates for USAS and inventory for the month of February. And so I think that leaves us with Andrea here, and I'm going to turn it over to her, and she will get started on all of the USPS updates we're done.
We have a lot. Thank you, Michelle. Michelle, it says I cannot share. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
You're good. You're good now. Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you. Nope, that's okay. Thank you. All right. Let's see. I think it's this one. Too many windows open now. Okay. All right. So let's go to releases here. All right. So for good morning. I will be reviewing the payroll side of things. We do have a lot to go over today, so hopefully I'm not going to overload you. For the payroll, we had two regular releases and two hot fixes. So we had quite a few. So we'll be going over the new features first. So one of the new features we have now is there was a request to start cleaning up the email direct deposit job schedules grid because those were never being deleted off. So now this will automatically begin at the beginning of each month, and it will schedule any jobs direct deposit history older than 90 days will be cleared off your grid. So where that is here in the job scheduler under utilities and right here. So that should be your first line in your job schedule. You'll see that now. And it will be ready and it'll let you know when your last run for cleanup was. And then the next one will begin the next month, which will be April 1st. And it runs in the middle of the night. So now this grid won't be so cluttered and it starts clearing out some of those any older than 90 days. The next one is a new option for the blended overtime rates. Districts were asking for this, so we have created, or the developers created, a way now to easy calculation for districts to calculate if they don't want to start using their own spreadsheets anymore. We do have this option now under utilities. Blended overtime. So now what they can do is go ahead and enter the employee that they want to search. And then if the employee has multiple, and I have one picked out here. Where's the note? Let's see, maybe it's for, oops, but I had one. Yep. Okay, so here's my Victor Burks. And now you can see he has multiple. So anybody with blended overtime in the calculations can now select the ones that they need to include in that calculation to come up with that total pay and then that overtime premium. So again, they have the option to include archive compensations if they want to include those in that blended time over calculator, or they can leave that unchecked. So then what you can do is go ahead and either double click or you can select by moving this position over to the selected. And then that starts to get included in your grid here of the ones that you want to include in that blended overtime calculation. Okay. And here we go. So once you start selecting those over, then you can go in and add in your hours for each one to get in over that amount. So I do have one here I'm going to use as an example. Evans, find employee. Okay. So then when I go ahead and find, and I want to move all these over because I want to select each one. And then I can go ahead and start adding in my hours. Oop. I can add in what my amount is. 410. Then I can do my calculate overtime premium. So it adds up your total hours and then it tells you what your overtime hours is. Then I calculate and then it gives me my regular blended rate, my straight pay, overtime, and total pay. So I did a little spread calculation here. So for those boxes right here, you have your, to get your regular blend rate, it's going to take the total gross, the straight pay, divide by the 41 total hours to get your 1752, which is your regular blended rate. Then to get the straight pay, how that comes up with, it takes the total gross. So we have to add up all the grosses. And you get your 718.40. So that's just a total gross on your weekly gross added up. Then the next is the overtime premium. What the system does then takes that by the 0.5 times the 1752, which is your regular blended rate, to get your $8.76 times the 1 hour of overtime. And then it, to get your total pay would be the straight pay, which is the 718.40 plus the overtime premium to get your 762.21. So that is how those boxes are being calculated. Now you can refresh and start over on your total hours if you need to start over. Um, as of right now, we don't have a way to just add an extra box down here if you just want to add in another line without selecting the position. But we do have that in a jury issue here, and I include it. So if you want to watch that, and it's tentatively scheduled to be released on the 2026.4 release. So then you can add multiple data lines. If you don't want to include the position, you can just add a line down here and it'll be an option. Okay. And as of right now, it is including, I guess they did have a jury issue to exclude archive employees in the blended overtime calculator. So there is a jury issue for that right now. Um, so any questions on the blended overtime calculator? I think it's a pretty simple to use to get that calculation. Okay. All right. I also included the blended overtime calculator documentation here for you. So we have it detailed out, and we also have it in, Lori did a nice write-up last month for the February. So also take a look at that. So I included that here also for more information on that. And the one other thing on this, the rate that is listed in these boxes here, this is coming from the compensation. So the pay unit, if it's set to hourly, then that uses the rate listed. And if the compensation for the employee unit is daily, then the rate is calculated by the unit amounts divided by the hours and days. So I just wanted to let you know that is how that rate is being calculated here on the blended overtime calculator. Okay. The next one is the added new option under the core payroll accounts for payroll account mass change. Now, anyone that had the classic days, this is mimicking that one. So again, it's kind of the same. And that could be found under core. So if we go to core, and we added another little option here. So once you go to payroll accounts, now the payroll accounts, and then you'll see the payroll accounts here, and then the payroll accounts mass change. So now you can go ahead and do a mass change for all employees um, for the accounts if it needs to be changed for multiple employees. We have the option here that you can change the report title. You can run the format in PDF, CSV, or Excel data. You can also sort by employee name, employee number, pay group, building department, or check distribution. And then you're always going to want to run it in preview first to make sure what accounts are showing are the correct ones before you do it in actual. And that you can rerun as many times as you like. So always make sure you have it in preview first before you do it in actual. And then the next thing is the accounts. What to include? Do you want to include archive employees and positions in this mass change? If those accounts are selected for those employees and they have those accounts, do you want to include inactive accounts in this account change? So any employees that account that you're selected is inactive for them will be included. Do you want to include specific miscellaneous accounts? So any specific miscellaneous accounts for employees that are set up that way, then those would be included in that mass change. And then also if you have ones that are include maximum amount in effects accounts. So again, these are going off of what is in the payroll account. I do have I ran a detailed part of all the payroll accounts. So the status is kind of what that is going off of. So any of those accounts that are have that status, then if these boxes are checked, then those accounts will be included for those employees. Now it's always going to include active accounts. So any account that's active for an employee and you select that account, then that employee will be included on that report. So to do a few, again, if you just do the drop down, I was just told this morning, this kind of mimics what the USAS goes, how the USAS does their account search. So if you go just searching down, you're just going to see some of the 001s. So you actually have to type in if you want to see other accounts or such. So, okay. And also you can type in by a name of the description of the account if you're searching. So it brings in any general. So again, then to remove it, you can do the X here. So again, the search, you can go ahead and enter in to help with your search if you need. So I have one here. I'll just click if I wanted to use some, you can just do that. And I just do this one here. So that account, and I want to go to 39, 74. There we go. So then again, you can continue down in adding more boxes if you need to change multiple accounts at one time. If you have pages or like many accounts to change, again, you can still use the mass load to update the payroll accounts if you need to do that. But if you want to do it this way, this is just another option for you. So you still have the mass load option to update payroll accounts, but you now you have this if this is just a quicker way for you if you don't have multiple and pages of accounts to change. So we'll go ahead, submit the change. So again, you'll have your option page here. And then you also will have the list of how many are going to change. And the name of the employees. I listed it by employee name and then what the status is. So all these counts were active anyways. So if you want to do it in CSV, let's see what that looks like here. So then here is just your CSV look. Okay. So if I want to go ahead then and submit the changes. Oh, I thought I hit preview or actual. Let's try that again. There we go. So again, you can double check to make sure with your preview report that you did earlier, make sure that matches and those were the same. So now when I go out to, if you have changed over to document storage, if not, they'll still be in file archive. Well, I guess I should say they will all go to document storage because it's updated now. But under document storage, you will find those under the payroll archive, payroll account mass change. So now those are in a separate folder for you to always have, the districts will always have that for review. So they can go in and see what accounts they changed. If they ever have a question of maybe they didn't keep any reports or anything, they still have that out there under document storage under payroll archive. And here you can update it if you want to update the description and file name. You can edit directly into that to update any information here. The only thing you cannot change is the timestamp. And then again, you can download those reports if you need to look at them in the future. So again, those are out there for future use. Again, just a little review on that. It only, as if you have nothing of these checked boxes here, payroll count, let's go back. If you leave all of these unchecked, then it's only going to include active accounts. Again, when you run in actual, it goes out to document store. And then as of right now, with the classic, if anybody used this in the old classic software, it updated the new contract maintenance pay account. So if you already had new contracts ready to go and you had changed payroll counts there, they updated there also. But as of right now, that does not affect any new contract payroll counts if you have those included already. So we do have a zero issue for that. So those will be caught also. Okay, any questions on the payroll account mass change? Okay. Okay. The next thing, let's see, and then Michelle went over the document store, so we'll go ahead and post past that. Okay, so the next thing is the improvements. So the improvements was we had some districts that had employees that were over the one that was only allowed in our software to the FTE. So now you can up to two. So the FTE, so if you want to do 1.2, you can do that now. 1.3, that option is available there. So that is under the position. And that is the position FTE and then also the EMIS override. So that is those now that you can add to if you like. So it does allow it. And also the regular FTE, which is up here. So those two boxes, that's what those two affect, that update. The next one is add error adjustments and employer error adjustments to the payroll highlighter view. So now when we say payroll item highlighter view, that is just when you're clicking on a line in the grid here, and then you're going to see maybe, okay, there we go, down here at the bottom. So they just added that to the highlighter view. So now you can just go ahead and click on anybody and you can see if they have an amount in there. And I do have one here. Yeah, 10 day and 539. So here's somebody that does have employee error adjustment waiting to be paid. So you can and then once those are paid, then those will be removed from the adjustments. So it works just like normal. So now you don't have to go to this little error adjustment field if you don't want to. You can just go directly to the employee and do the highlighter view. But you still have that option to view those error adjustments here under payroll item. Okay. The next one is the retire hours, future and hours worked current will now default to 0 for blended overtime pay amounts. So now when you're adding the blended overtime pay amounts, before it was updating. So if you entered 5 units, it automatically put in 5 in the hours worked, which is in current in the retire hours in future. So now when you're adding a blended overtime pay amount, it defaults to 0 automatically. So that will not be included in any of the retirement reports. The improve the payroll item description for the payables adjustment view by adding the name for the payroll item configuration. And that is under the process outstanding payables. And before, when you were selecting, it just had the payroll item and the number. Sophie. So now you see that has federal tax, Ohio, STRS, Medicare. Before it was just showing the what the federal, or maybe I think just a payroll item in 001. I think. I think that's all it was. Um, so that's been updated just so it's a little helpful, easier to search. The next one, exclude blended overtime unit from the total hours worked on payslip. So now on the payslip for the total hours, blended overtime is not going to be used in that total hours section of the payslip. So it's only going to use your regular hours and then any overtime and or miscellaneous. So this employee that I have here had a regular hours of 36.25, and then it adds the overtime and the miscellaneous to get the 64.25, and that is what will show on the total hours worked. So the blended overtime is going to be excluded now. The next one is the attendance add and edit. And this kind of goes in also with the attendance mass add. This was an improvement because as of before, the FLSA was overtime option box was not being included, but now it is. So now when we go to attendance, just add one here. Now, if you do post to current, which I don't have one in current right now, but you can post to current or future and you save. There we go. So now we have that box here to the far right. So when you go ahead and change it to overtime, now you can update that box. And also with the blended overtime, which is the very last one, you have to scroll down. So those two, when you use those pay types, now you can select it before you post it to future. Okay. Then the next one is the mass add. Same thing. So if you're updating a multiple and adding attendance and you're posting again and you create. So again, you have that option here to include your overtime. Same thing for EOT and here. And this retire hours, if you're using BOT, should not be there. So I'm going to make note of that because that should blank that out when saved. Okay. All right. Any questions on that portion? Okay. The next one is improve error message and payroll when they initialize the view. When the date range is missing for the pay selection group. This one actually caught me up several times, so I'm kind of glad that they changed that. Before, when you were initializing a payroll and you had this box over here and you didn't have any dates in it, it was just saying error stop date must be on or after start. And it kind of didn't point you in what direction. I was always thinking it was these dates over here. It's not. These dates were fine. It was the pay group. So now they had this missing pay group start and stop date. So I think now that will help districts when they get error that they know that, oh, I'm missing dates, or just they have to remove it. They just can't have a box here with no dates. So hopefully that'll be a little helpful. The next one is add FLSA overtime property to the home SSD future pay amount report. So now that is included on the report, and that report can be found under home and under future. Don't know if I have anything at this point in there, but if you run it, well, that can take a while, but I do have a report here that you can see that. So it does include it on the report. No, must be a lot to run. The next one is update the mass load to ignore blank lines and then lines with just commas. So now when you're doing a mass load for anything, if you have accidentally and you didn't notice it in your spreadsheet, your CSV, that there is a blank line in between that was causing problems, now it will just ignore it. And then also if you also have commas in a line, now that will be ignored also. There's my sheet, but yeah, there you go. So again, just an update on that. And then also an update for the core leave decal form to make eligible leave type property read only unmodifiable. So if you need to update the leave for an employee, what they're eligible for, you have to go to the employee's position now. You can't go just to their leave anymore and make changes. So they just wanted to make sure they take that capability away, that you cannot change it here anymore. Before you could. So now you have to go to the employee's position. All right, the next one is how they handle unexpected exceptions when storing employee while payroll is posted. The messages on the post error reports were kind of vague, so they were doing some updates and working on that to get those errors a little bit more easier to read. So here's one example. They're gonna now I think most of them will have the employee number in or the name. So now if you get a credential ID must be 9 characters. Now it will say that, but with the employee name and number. Before it had nothing, so you didn't have no idea who you were looking for. So now most of the errors will have the employee name and the number. And if you find one that does not, please let us know and we'll make sure we get, see if we can get that updated also. The next one, trim any white spaces from these two, one from the overtime object code configuration and the other one from the payroll item configuration object codes. Before that was causing a lot of problems and making errors on the employer distribution report. So they wanted to make sure this got caught before it got to that point. So now they're just going to take out if there's a space before or after, because really, if you don't like edit and then kind of click on that box and just kind of arrow over, you can see that there's a space maybe after. So now they're just going to trim that off and ignore that. So that way, just in case if somebody was updating and they put a space in there before or after, it's just going to ignore it and not cause any more problems. So now you'll the payroll account pay accounts, the payroll report that is updated. So if it's looking at the overtime code, and then also then on the employer distribution report. The next one is to improve pay slips over 40 calculation. So now they will include doc and absence. So we first we added how is the pay slips going to be calculated for that. So now they added in the payment printing configuration. Now districts can there we go, can choose when they want that count to start. So if they go to their payment printing configuration, here you have that new option, first day of the week for hours over 40 per week count. So now they can select, some districts start their weeks on a Saturday for the 7 days. Some started on a Sunday. So now districts can choose when they want that count to start. So again, the districts will have to update this accordingly to what, how they want their days to be counted. It's automatically set to Sunday, so if your districts are on that Sunday through Saturday count, then you're fine. That's the default. And then I do have a PowerPoint. I did include it in here, just kind of how the calculation of what we, and how that's calculated. So again, the system goes off the configuration the first day of the week. So I had mine selected as Sunday. And then the district again will need to update that so they get their how they want their counts over 40 to start. So this value means that when they count their work days, it's going to use their job calendars. If it's attached to a job calendar for that compensation, it's going to use their attendance and their absence. Will be grouped in that count of week using Sunday as a start week and Saturday as the end week if they have the Sunday selected. Again, now we have all the absence are going to be included in that count over 40. So again, now if they have any of these absences in their selection when they were paid through that pay week, that's going to be included and be taken off. So that even includes professional. So I included all these will be in that count category now. Then it uses the employee's compensation. So it looks at the hours and days. And then it looks at the job calendar and finds how many days is on the work days on the job calendar for that employee. Now, to remember, if the district's using multiple beginning and ending payroll dates for groups of pay groups for employees, they want to make sure that they find that right start and stop date for that a range of pay group. How will it be calculated? So the hours over 40 will look at the job calendar to find the work days, and then they multiply them by the hours and day. And this will again come from the compensation that he's getting paid on. And then it will group the weeks based upon the first day of the week selected on the configuration, excuse me. So here is an example of employees direct deposit pay stub. So you see he's getting paid the regular 60. We have a miscellaneous, and then we have overtime. So again, we're going to look at the 60 units because it's 10 days worked. I looked at the job calendar. 10 days work is 6 hours at 60 units. Then it's looking at the absences. So now I have 3 entered here for this employee. So I take week 1, figure out what days fall in my through Sunday through Saturday, week 2, and my week 3. So my week 1 is for 30 hours. Week 2 is for my regular 30 plus those 3 attendants that I have for February 11th, 12th, and 13th, which is a total of 12.5 hours. So that gives me my 42.50 hours. Then my week 3, since that falls on a weekend, is 0. So that is not going to be nothing included in that calculation. So if I add up my 30 and my 42, I get my total hours worked is 72.5. So, and just to remember, any blended overtime pay types that they don't get included in this total hours worked, only miscellaneous, regular, and overtime. So now to get our hours greater than 40, again, we do the same thing. Go ahead and look at what hours, and then he was paid over 2.5 hours in 1 week. So that's going to be my overtime. So that would be what is going to show now on my week for over 40. But now if I add a doc or a sick, it changes to 0.5 because I took 2 hours off. Was 2.5, now it's 5. Okay, any questions on that? And I did include that PowerPoint here, so if you wanted to review it later, you can. So I just want to kind of go over that now these absence for like docs, they will be included in that count. Okay. The next thing here is allow other credentials and EC qualification properties to be mass loaded. So when you're trying to use the mass load, you will now want to enter in these in the field for other credentials. And then for the EC qualification, same thing. You have to make sure in the bold is what needs to be on that mass load spreadsheet if you're updating anything for the employees in these fields. And we do have that updated in mass load. So the next thing is to remove use as vendor and check number from the budget distribution reports. Before, when you ran that, I think you had the treasurer's signature, and then it had a vendor and check number before. Well, actually, that was on the report, but on here was just the vendor and the budget distribution, excuse me, check number on the budget distribution detail. So now that has been removed and they don't need that anymore. Prevent future pay amounts from being included in the payroll for archive compensations. This one was found by district when they had an employee already in future, then they went archive the compensation for that employee. So when they ran um, the payroll, they were getting errors. So now, when they have that option, when they have that situation, what they will want to do, they'll get the error on the report, future payroll not included, compensation is archived. When they have that, then they need to go to back to future, select that employee, edit it, and then select the correct compensation. So the archive one is going to show yet at that point, but when you go ahead and select the correct compensation, then in the drop down and save it, that is where that archive compensation will be removed. So when they go back to re-edit that entry in future, they will no longer see that archive compensation. It will no longer show in the drop down. So if they do get this message, that means they just need to go back into that future entry, edit, select the correct one and save it. And then once they update the payroll again, the error will be removed. The next one is to update payables detail report when handling negative gross values, when calculating data for payables detail report. So when they were running the outstanding payables on the detail report, it was showing there was a bug where they did a void and ran a special pay. So when they went back and ran that payables detail report, it was still showing a negative here. It wasn't updating that gross on there. So now when they go ahead and do that, they will not show that as the negative. Remove Ohio records from the W-2 forms and report. This was a W-2 employee had some adjustments made to make this all zero across the line on their W-2 report. And also when they ran the W-2 form, it was still showing here that they had the Ohio there yet. Now, so next, when they run their W-2s for 26 and they have this situation for any zeros on the report all the way across the line, they should not see that listed either on the report or should be not even on the form. So these two have updated to be removed from both. The next one is add employees who are paid all out of accrued wages with no days or work days to be included in the STRS non-advance report. Before, they were not being included on that non-advance report. They were included on the fiscal year end report, but they were not being caught on the STRS non-advance report. So they were on on that main report, but not either on the advance or non-advance. So they were not being caught. So now, if you have a district that had an employee that paid all out of accrued wages with no work days worked or work days, now it's going to be included on the non-advance report. So then at that time, they can determine if that employee should advance, and then they can make the necessary corrections so they do get that employee to advance. So that should help here coming up at fiscal year end. Okay. The last thing before we go on to the bugs, is the qualified overtime calculations, which is, I know, a big thing. And we have some updates on this, and we're not going to go over it at this point, and we will do once it is released. Yesterday they did decide that we're going to use the units instead of the future uses retire hours, current uses hours work. That's how it was calculating at this time for the W-2 qualify overtime. It was using these two fields. We had some questions on, especially if in districts that use, my chat won't move, shift differential. We did have one question with that because they did not want retire hours to be included, because as of now they would have had to use that retire hours to get these that qualified overtime to calculate correctly. So now instead of using the hours in the day, or excuse me, the instead of using the hours worked or retire hours, it is going to be using units. So it's going to be historical units. So anything ran during payroll is what it's going to use coming up here in the future. Now that is going to be tentatively on the schedule to be released on the 2026.4 on March 27th. So hopefully then by that, so we suggest not making any adjustments for those kind of people, anything that because it's going to start using the units. So if it uses units, it should adjust accordingly, and you shouldn't have anything missing if you don't have retire hours entered or hours worked. So we just suggest just to hold off for now until they get this updated. But I did include that in here of how, as of right now, it is calculating. So if you want to review that, you can. If you don't want to, so you don't confuse yourself, then that is up to you. But we do have that here um, just in case. Okay. So the next thing is the bugs. Um, they had a bug in the core, under core code. When they were editing the window, they were needing to update or reassign or delete an IRN, and it was causing a locking error. So that has been updated. There was a bug for ODGFS new hire reporting for big districts that had large number of employees to report every month. It was not including everybody, so there was only a limit amount that would be included at a time. So that has been updated. There was also a corrected bug in employer distribution causing distributed amounts to be incorrect. So this would be employees that had multiple position levels attached to payroll items like Medicare, maybe they had two 692s, maybe three 692s. So payroll item 1, 692, payroll item 692 for payroll position 2. And then they also had maybe other payroll item multiple positions. So when they were including those reports on the pay, so the report and pay accounts were charged. So now, when they run that report, if they run it for employer distribution and include those payroll item numbers, they will see both of those accounts and it will be charged accordingly. And the next one is to correct a bug discovered in the W-2 file archive service used by employee self-service to retrieve W-2s for staff receiving a navigation error. So that has been updated. So now they will not receive an error when any district employees try to view their W-2s. The next one is a correct a bug in the file transfer service that is preventing page loading of pay slips view and the employee self-service for some districts. So again, this was another bug when they were trying to view their pay slips in the ESS, they were not able to load them. And then the other bug that was corrected, this was a result of the document store release introduced in the point 2, the direct deposit and salary notices. If they had custom salary notice and direct deposits, it was not working. They could not send out their notices, their salary notices. So at that time, we had them use just the default one from SSDT, and then it worked. But we updated that now, so they should not have any more issues with that. Okay, I think that is all that we have for our releases today. Is there any questions or anything that I missed or want to review that we can go over? Okay, I think we're good then. I'll give that back, I think, to Michelle.
I think Mary's going to be next.
Oh, Mary, sorry. Okay, stop sharing. And thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Good morning, everyone. I will go ahead and, excuse me, share my screen. And Okay, we will go into Ippy Dippy first, and then Michelle will go ahead and do ESS after. So we had the very first one is actually an improvement. It's not a hot fix, and I will fix that right after the meeting today. And then we had 2 regular releases. So for the first one, they have added an export to the committee grid. So if you go into committees on your screen, they have added this export grid items. So go ahead and export that into a .csv, and it will load it into committee export.csv for you. The next item we have is a mass loader for professional certifications. So I'll go ahead and go in there. You go into system and then mass load. And you will have the option to load professional certifications for staff that need that. And for the most part, I have documented that here under in our wiki for professional certification import criteria. You would just click on that. And the layout is listed here, and these are all the fields that are contained in that file layout. For the most part, you would use this for conversion purposes from another software package. And I want to bring your attention to the note at the top of this page. Let's see if I can get it there. I'll just scroll. We will have an import for each one of these, and it's currently in progress. So not all the loaders are ready yet. So I would use this with caution. And when we will have documentation on how to load everything once these are all completed. Are there any questions on that one? Okay. Also, one other note on this is that there is a job that runs weekly for professional certifications that pulls the information from the state on the staff certifications, and then it goes into a central area. And from there, there's another job that runs weekly as well on Tuesdays that will pull in the certifications for the staff in your building. So that is located under, if you need to refer to it, it's under system and then batch job. And this will explain how those are pulled and what time they're pulled. Okay, next item that we have under the new features is the ability to change the status of an approved or denied activity from the district view. So if I go in as an admin, I can go into the activities screen. Can get up there. Sorry, my computer's acting weird. So go to district activities. If I take and look at the approved activity, I now have these options down here where I can have it resubmitted for approval, denied, or returns back to the employee to make additional changes, even if it is approved. So if I want to go ahead and return this, that warning is because I have notifications turned off. Then I can look on here and check the approval trail, and it'll show me that it was returned for modification. And a lot of times that's so that they can adjust the credits or the CEUs or anything else that they need to fix on there. Also, if it was denied in a denied status, and I'll find one that's denied. You can go in and change this as well. You can resubmit it for reapproval or return it and have them make adjustments again. And that also is logged in the trail, the approval trail. Any questions on that? Okay, the next item are improvements. When loading plan certifications, and this is for the kiosk loader, not the mass loader. They adjusted it so that it would check for a duplicate. And instead of looking for the duplicate, they're looking for the plan certification instead. So it allowed more certifications to be loaded. Most of you are done doing the kiosk load, so it's hopefully the end of that system soon. The next item that we had was the ability to cancel activities. There are times when the activities that were loaded were not being used or were denied or they didn't mean to have it in there. They redid it. Any reason that you can have for wanting to remove it, they can go in and cancel that now. And it can be done from any role, district manager, a supervisor, an admin, committee member, or the owner can all cancel an activity. And it will be logged in the approval trail as well. So if we go into district activities, I'll do it as an admin. So all the ones that are valid to cancel will have this X next to them. And there's a tooltip there to show that you can cancel the activity here. So even if it's initiated, I can cancel it and say, oh, they don't really need this one. So I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, and if you want to see the ones that are canceled, you can filter for that as well here on the grid, and it'll show you the ones that have been canceled. Okay, and then we had a few bugs. The first one here was when they were opening the plan form to create a plan. It was actually, in some cases, not all, creating two openings, which created an error. And then it was also creating two approval trail entries on the plan as well. So that has been fixed. The link from the email configuration that for the notifications that go out, that has been added on the plan approval email. Sorry. So that one is now has the configuration link for the Ippy Dippy. And then the last item was there when they had custom activity options. At one point, they were able to be deleted, which caused a problem in the activity view. So now as long as there's an attachment, or not an attachment, activity option attached to the activity, it will not allow you to delete it because they need to be made inactive instead of deleted. Okay, any questions on Ippy Dippy? I do have one question about committee members would like the ability to make the update instead of sending it back to the staff member. I'll check and see if there's a feedback for that. I think there might be. Thanks, Valerie.
I was looking as well, Mary, and I couldn't find one, but I would probably, Valerie, I would probably create a support ticket on that one so that we can bump up the times requested in case we do have one. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a nice Friday, everyone.
All right, I'll go ahead and share my screen. Okay, and I'll wrap things up here with ESS and send you guys off on your way then for your Friday. So going to the ESS updates here. We had a couple of new features and some improvements. So I'm just going to go into each of these and then just talk a little bit about the bugs and the patches. For our new features, we did add a new default leave time setting underneath system configuration, leave time configuration, allowing you to default the day and hour increments under the total times requested. So I'm going to show you where that's at. So in my instance here, get logged in. And underneath system configuration and leave time configuration, the leave time increments down here, but we're already in there, it's the leave time defaults down here. So you'll see for appointment type here, whether they're full-time or part-time, I have it set up in here that the certified is 0.25 and the classified is 0.5. So I'm just going to show you what happens. I'm going to go into Susan's account, and she is a classified full-time employee, and she is hourly. So it says that it's going to default with a 0.5. So I'll log in as Susan. And when she goes in to create her leave request, what she is going to see here is that that default value is going to reflect the 0.5. So she is classified full-time, and so it's going to be reflected here as a 0.5 on here. If it was a certified person, I would have seen the 0.25. So that's how that's showing. Obviously, and that's the default setting. So obviously they can go in and increment this. And you'll notice too that it also increments 0.5 because that's the other setting on that configuration screen. So that's that new feature that we included. As for improvements, coming back here, we've added the amount of time to the My Leave calendar. Now it's been on the others, the district leave calendar. So I'm still logged in as Susan. So if I go to My Leave calendar, and I might need to bump back a couple months here, you'll notice now that underneath the My Leave calendar, it shows the amount of time that they're taking off that day. And like I said, the other leave calendars, district supervisor already included that. We just added it to the My Leave. Also, we added a new pending leave balance column to the leave information view. So first, I'm going to show you where that setup is at. I'm going to log back in as admin. And that is under system configuration. And I'm going to the leave balance details configuration, which is right here. And then what I'm doing is I check mark the show pending balance. So once that's checked, which this one already is, if I then log in as Susan, and I go to my leave information, over off to the far right, you're going to see it is not flagged by default, Heidi. That's a good question. It needs to be set up. But once that is set, then the pending balances are going to show off to the far right, and it's going to show what the pending balances are for that user so she can see what she has left. So pending balances are going to include initiated and approved requests. So that's just something to keep in mind. Okay, going back. The next thing is we did do some leave adjustment improvements, and we still have, I'm not sure if we're completely done with them all, but we are planning on doing a feature article, I think in the April newsletter, and just kind of recap the leave adjustment and how it's used. And so that'll be able to provide all the details, but I just want to show you what we did take care of in February regarding leave adjustments. So I'm already going to log back in as admin, keep going back and forth here. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the leave management and the leave adjustments, which is way down at the bottom. So one thing we improved is these, we have this checkbox here for exported or non-exported. So these are just showing the leave adjustments, and you can filter that and just show the ones that haven't been exported yet. So obviously those are marked with a red X. Those that have been exported out of the leave adjustments grid here are the ones that are marked in with a green check mark. So that's one improvement that we made. Also, another improvement that we made is with leave adjustments that you aren't able to create an adjustment for more than a day or for more than 24 hours. So that was something probably more a little bit of a bug, but we made that improvement as well. So they will get an error if they try to do something for more than a day. In this leave adjustments grid as well, another improvement we made is allowing leave managers or admin roles the ability to delete a non-exported leave adjustment. So I know, and I think we're getting feedback from people regarding the ability for users to create leave adjustments. In fact, I think there was a ticket that just came through about that as well. And so, you know, what they do, they have the ability to create a leave adjustment. And so if the leave adjustment should not go through and it should be deleted or canceled, then the leave manager or admin levels have the ability to do that. So when a leave adjustment is created, the leave manager comes in this grid and sees the leave adjustments that are sitting out there that haven't been exported yet. That would be these two. What's going to happen then is that leave manager can go in, and if Susan did a leave adjustment for the 19th, and she shouldn't have, she actually did take the day, then we can go in and the leave manager can go in and select this and delete that selected adjustment. So before I do that, I'm just going to go and look at her leave first, just so you can kind of see how this works. So I'm going to go to district leave, and I'm going to filter on Susan. And I'm looking at her 12/17 to 12/19 leave request that she has here. So I'm just going to view it. And I'm going to go over to the leave request adjustments. And you'll notice that she created an adjustment, even though it was a 3-day, she created an adjustment to back out basically the 19th. And she actually did take that day. So we want to get rid of this. We want to remove this so that it doesn't accidentally get exported. The leave manager can't do it at this grid. They could go in and actually export the selected leave adjustment if they wanted to, but we don't want to do that. We want to go in and just delete this. So I'm going to close out of here. And now I'm going to go back in to my leave adjustments grid. And again, I filter down so I can easily see the ones that haven't been exported yet. And there is Susan's. So if I go in here now and delete this by clicking on it and selecting delete selected adjustment, it is going to tell me that the selected adjustment was successfully deleted. Now, if I go back up to her leave request, it'll no longer be there. Let's find out. So again, it was the 12/17 through 12/19. So again, if I view, I don't even see the leave adjustment tab anymore. So it has been cleared off. So right now for that leave request, it's back to its original 3 days. And that leave adjustment that she did on the 19th is deleted. So that's how that works. Okay, any questions on that? Move on to the next one here. While I'm in Susan's account here, I'm going to go to leave calendar here. And one thing that we did, we made a little bit of an improvement on this. If I go to the district leave calendar, oh, that's right, I'm in the admin. One thing we did is we improved the view when trying to do a range on a calendar. So if I go in and do a custom start, I'm going to pick on a date here. I'm going to go back to like December, kind of cross a couple months here that I know I have some activity. So I'll just pick the 18th, and I'm going to make my custom stop date to, let's pick the 7th, and then submit my custom date. It's improved the view here so that it doesn't split off and kind of look a little wonky. It's going to just go within that range and show me the leave requests that were created, and I'm on the district leave calendar within that range. So a much better view. So we improved the view on that one. And the last thing I want to show you is timesheets, and I'm not going to demo it. Instead, I created just a little screenshot here. And this is in regards to canceling leave requests and having those removed from the timesheet. And so right here at the very top here, I have my leave request, and it was for June 17th. It was a vacation leave. And so it was listed on my timesheet as a vacation activity. So this was originally a VA for vacation. And then the leave request was canceled. And so what happens then to the timesheet? What happens then is that on that timesheet then, it's going to adjust that and change that particular day from, I'm sorry, it was, yeah, vacation. It should be from vacation to regular. So you'll see now that on the 17th, it shows that it's a regular activity now. So it made that update. And at the same time, it's also going to send a notification to that particular person, letting them know that their approved timesheet was updated. And it shows here that the person, the timesheet period, and then what was actually updated. There was a cancellation of a leave request, and this is the leave request details about which item was canceled. So that's pretty nice how that works. It's all, you cancel it, it makes the automatic update to the timesheet. And then obviously if there's something that still needs to be adjusted on the timesheet, that can be, but it automatically changes that day from vacation to a regular day. So those are some of the improvements that we made in February in ESS. Any questions on the improvements? The other thing that we've updated were just some bugs And I'm not going to go through them all here. We just had a handful of them that we updated here. I know it's already 10:30 here. And we did also have some patches. And this type of stuff was changes that the developers had to do. Nothing on the front end. These were all back end changes. I think it was in regard to how they write their database queries, making it a little bit easier on them when they're creating those. So they had to go in and make a bunch of updates to those repositories. So that's what that's all about. Nothing that we're going to see on the front end. So that's kind of where we're at with ESS. I think we covered everything from February. Just one last thing I wanted to wrap up with you guys is where we're at for training in March here. Next week, we do have JIRA creating custom dashboard session. And with that one, if you are signed up to attend that session, we plan to send you guys, those that registered, an email probably on Monday. This is kind of a work session. And so kind of requiring your participation if you want to go through and create filters and a dashboard along the same time that we are demoing it. So in order to do that, you need to do some prep work first. And I believe all of you have a Management Council Active Directory account. So that's the one requirement. And then the second requirement is to make sure that you have an Atlassian account. So we will specify that in the email next week, that those two things need to be done ahead of time in order for you to go in and create your custom dashboards in JIRA. So if you're already in the portal, the Service Desk portal, creating tickets, you already have an Atlassian account because you can't log into the portal without having one. So if you're like, do I have one or not? If you're able to go in there and log in, then you have one. What we have underneath, I believe it is in, I go back down underneath our ITC only support resources, under our SSDT meetings and trainings page, we have a new ITC fiscal support staff resources. And in there, it talks about creating your AD account and your Atlassian account. So this part in particular talks about your Atlassian account. So if you know you have your AD account set up, but you don't have your Atlassian one, you want to go through these steps. So all of that will be outlined in the email next week. And once those are set up, what we're going to do then, if I back up, is if in case you wanted to look at it ahead of time, we are going to be going through the customizing a JIRA dashboard. That's what we'll be covering next Friday. So Bella's going to be going through how to go in and create filters and how to go in and set up a custom dashboard so that you have access to our projects and be able to do filters. If you want to create a dashboard for outstanding USPS issues, she'll show you how to do that. So that's what we're going to kind of work on together during the workshop. So that's definitely something, if you haven't signed up for it, please do, but we do need some prep work that needs to be done ahead of time. The other session that we have in March is Lori's going to go into a deeper dive on Medicare and retirement pickup on the 20th. So she'll cover that day. And then the last week of March, I believe we're all going to be at the OACN United Conference. And at that conference, we are going to be covering a sub-hub and a school comms preview. Project managers of those teams, Justin and Jason, will be demonstrating and just showing you where we're currently at, the progress that we're making on those two applications. So if you guys are attending, we'd love to see you in those sessions. I believe too, Mark's going to be doing a session on, I think those two sessions, Jason and Justin's, are on Thursday morning. And then Mark's doing a session on the REST API service. I think it's more for the development team, the tech department. But he's going to be doing that Friday. I think the last session on Friday, he'll be covering that. So yeah, so lots going on here in March. Do you guys have any other questions regarding our upcoming training sessions? Okay. I appreciate you guys being on the call. I know this was a long one, but with the delay in the releases, we had a lot to cover. So we should be on that 2-week release cycle now, and that should be good to go. But we appreciate your patience with all of that. I want to wish everyone a happy Friday and a great weekend, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care.